Alright, so we are back out here in the shop and are going to do some more diverter valve testing. So if you all saw the last video I did, I went through these same diverter valves, but there was a little flaw in my test, and that was I didn't have pressure going to the top of the diverter valve. So I've kind of rigged up a ghetto setup that will do that. The same amount of pressure that comes through the diverter valve will now be going to the top of the diverter valve. Again, I'm using this leak down tester, and we're going to see what the difference is in the diverter valve installed, or with the pressure going in the correct way and also with the pressure going in opposite. So let's get started. The first one that we're going to be using here is an OEM Bosch unit. So I got it hooked up here. We're going to start out with the correct way. So we have it installed like it would have come from the factory, with the pressure going in the top or the side of the piston. So we're going to start giving it some pressure here. There we have roughly 10 psi going in, and we are very similar. We got just the slightest amount of leak, although it's very, very slight. Go ahead and bump it up to 15 psi. So we might have around 1 psi of leak. At roughly, we're sitting right at 16 psi going in, and we're reading about 15 on the leak gauge. Bump it up to 20. Okay, so there we are at see if we can get this set here at about 25. See, we're at about roughly 26 psi. We have about 2 psi of leak. We bump it up to 30. We're staying right at that 2 psi range. 35, still 2 psi of leak. So this one did very well. Installed the correct way. I'm going to go ahead and swap it around. We're going to do install it the opposite way. See how it does there. Alright, so we have it installed opposite or backwards from the factory. So we're going to start giving it some pressure here. Heading towards 10 psi. Roughly 1 pound. I think that's very similar to how we were the opposite way. So we're going to just jump right to 20. Still hanging at about 1 psi of leak, so I think we are slightly better than we were installed the correct way. Heading up towards 25. Let's see what we got there. 30. Barely 2. See that? Alright, so that did pretty well. It was very close, pretty hard to tell exactly which one was better. Although if I do think installed backwards here, this one actually did possibly a little bit better than installed the factory way. So we're just going to use this Kaiser diverter valve, also made in Germany. It's another one I had laying around. Again, we'll start off with it installed the proper way. Connect our vac line there. And let's give it some pressure. Heading up towards 10 psi. 20. $25, $30. Again, this one doing very good. Alright, let's switch it around and see what it does the other direction. So far these are all doing very well. Okay, so this one, now we got this one installed backwards. I'm going to see what this one does installed this way. Right at about 10 psi. Heading up towards 20. Again, very, very close. Although I think slightly better than the factory install way. Right there sitting at 25. And roughly 24 on relief downside. 30, sitting at about 28, 29. 35, once we hit about 35, it starts dropping off. There we're about 2 pounds at roughly 33. So either one of these installed either direction doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of a difference, although possibly, from what I can tell, installed this way with your pressure side coming to the bottom of the diaphragm seems to be doing slightly better, although it's not a whole lot. Okay, so last we're going to try the excess power splitter valve. See what we can learn here. We're going to mess with the adjustment a little bit, see if that makes any difference. So now I'm all the way tight. We're going to see what this does, and then we'll mess around with the pressures. Alright. Got that all hooked up. Start feeding it some pressure. Not good. Only 10 psi of pressure, and we got a very bad leak. You can hear it leaking out through here. You hear that? Let's go ahead and give it some more. Give it 20. Wow. Check that out. Not good at all. So while we're here, I'm going to start adjusting it and see if we can get it to get better. Completely open on the adjustment here. There's all the way shut. Absolutely no difference whatsoever. It's leaking pretty bad out through here. Bump it up to 30. Not looking good at all for the splitter valve. Let's go ahead and switch it around, see if it makes any difference. And this valve is practically brand new. It was on the car for I think he said like 3,000 miles. So it definitely should not be worn out. Okay, so we're going to have a pressure coming up against the bottom of that plunger. If you can see, if down there you can see that brass plunger. So we're going to have a pressure coming up against there. Go ahead and close this. Alright, let's give it some pressure here. Wow, definitely a whole lot better, although not impressive. Go ahead and bump that up to 20. Again, not near as good as the diverter valves, but a whole lot better than it was installed the other way. You got roughly 5 pounds of leak down going there. I'm gonna bump it up to 30. We got about 10 pounds of leak down going here. Between 8 and 10 pounds of leak down going here. 30 psi going in, and we're only holding about 16. Again, we're leaking out through here. Could be why the car, when I bought the car with these on, that could be why I had an erratic boost. Also, we got a good amount leaking out through here as well. So, this simply leaks everywhere. Go ahead and mess with the adjustment a little bit. No lock, no difference. So, there we have that. Looks like, from what I have here, now it would be interesting to test some of the higher end diverter or splitter valves like the Forge, or I think APR makes some. See how they fare, but definitely on this test here, looks like the excess power splitter valves here are a no-go in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we will hopefully have more videos like this coming up in the future. Thanks again for watching. We will see you next time.